I go now to Real Madrid is better, is bigger. I think I can come back to my country. I play Real Madrid. It's one of the best clubs in the world, and
So Real Madrid just signed Marc Cucurella, a 6-year deal. And if you've seen the headlines, you probably already think you know how this story goes. Smart signing, good player. Mourinho needed a left back, got one, even got him cheap, easy. But I've been digging into this one for a few days now, and the more I looked, the less it added up to easy. There's something underneath this deal that almost nobody's actually talking about. So here's the real question I want to put to you. Did Real Madrid fix a problem at left back? Or did they just adopt a brand new one? Stick with me, because by the end of this, I don't think you'll see this transfer the same way. And just so we're clear, I'm not about to throw some wild conspiracy theory at you. Everything I'm walking you through here is sourced and out there already. It's just not the version of this story that's getting clicks. Let's start with the version everyone's running with, because honestly, it's a pretty convincing one. Real Madrid needed a left-back. Mourinho's freshly back in charge at the Bernabeu, second time around, and he wanted someone proven, not a project. Cucurella fit. He'd already won a Conference League and a Club World Cup at Chelsea, made over 160 appearances, and he's a regular for Spain. This isn't a gamble, this is a finished product. And the price? Madrid beat out Barcelona, Atletico and Manchester City to get him, closed the whole thing before the World Cup had even wrapped up, and still paid less than what Chelsea originally spent on him from Brighton. Cucurella himself said the offer came in and he didn't hesitate, calling it an honour few players get. Smart business. Right player, right price, right timing. And it fits the bigger picture too. Mourinho's been busy this summer. Konate, Dumfries, Bernardo Silva, now Cucurella. This isn't panic buying. This looks like a manager building with intent. That's the story. And look, most of it checks out. But the more time I spent on this, the more I kept running into stuff that explanation just doesn't cover. Let's go back to 2023 for a second. That year, Cucurella couldn't get into the Chelsea side under a different manager. A whole season, no Premier League starts. He got frustrated, started pushing for a way out, and you know who came up in the reports at the time? Real Madrid. They were linked with taking him on loan. That deal never happened. But think about what that actually means. This isn't Madrid suddenly noticing him this summer. They've had eyes on this guy for years through the version of him that was struggling to get on the pitch. Now, fast forward to how he actually left Chelsea this time, because he didn't slip out quietly. He stood in front of cameras and basically said he didn't trust the people running the club, blamed a Champions League exit on inexperience, and openly questioned why his manager got sacked. You're starting to see a pattern here, right? Public frustration, then a move. Twice now, and it's not just off the pitch either. Look at his underlying numbers this season. Tackle success is down compared to the last 2 years. Aerial duels won, also down. And that raises a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? If Madrid were buying the best version of this guy, why were some of his core defensive numbers heading the wrong way right as they came calling? Add in the injuries too, a thigh issue in December, then a muscle problem that kept him out most of February and March. None of this makes him a bad player, to be clear, but it does make him a 27-year-old signing a 6-year contract while carrying some real wear and tear. He'll be in his 30s for the back half of that deal. And then there's the price, which I think actually tells you more than people realise. Chelsea paid around 65 million euros for him 4 years ago. Madrid got him for somewhere closer to 50 or 55. That's a real discount on a player who should still be in his prime years. Discounts like that usually mean one of two things. Either the buying club just found a bargain, or the market already knows something the price needs to account for. And Chelsea didn't put up a fight to keep him. They thanked him, moved on, and were already lining up his replacement that same week. So why would Mourinho still push this hard for him? this is where it gets interesting, because the left-back spot Cucurella was walking into wasn't even settled to begin with. Reports had Mourinho with doubts about Alvaro Carreras after some negative feedback on him, and Fran Garcia was being talked about as expendable. So Madrid wasn't adding depth to a stable position, they were swapping out one uncertainty for a player who comes with some baggage of his own. And here's the part that really got me. Mourinho's first run at Real Madrid didn't end because the results went bad. He actually won the league there. It ended because the dressing room turned on him, most visibly with the captain, and it got so messy he was eventually pushed out the door. So he comes back, starts rebuilding fast, and his very first big signing is a guy with an actual track record of going public the moment he's unhappy somewhere. There's even more to it. Cucurella confirmed that Mourinho personally called him before the deal closed, telling him how badly he wanted him on board. He's been pretty vague about exactly what was promised on that call, but he hasn't denied it happened either. A manager personally courting a player isn't unusual on its own, but a manager who already lost his own dressing room once, now building his new core around personal charm instead of a settled structure, that's worth keeping an eye on. So here's where I land on all this. The question was never really whether Cucurella was good enough. He's not some flop. His numbers, even with this season's dip, still put him among the better defensive fullbacks in the league. He presses well, recovers the ball, and gets forward. Chelsea didn't offload damaged goods. The real question is whether Madrid signed a footballer or quietly inherited a pattern. Think about it. Wanting out of Brighton for bigger ambitions, pushing for an exit during a rough patch at Chelsea, speaking out against the people running the club on his way out the second time. None of that is scandalous on its own. Players get frustrated, players say what they think. That's normal, but stack all three together. Lock it into a 6-year contract and hand it to a manager whose own career has a documented blind spot for exactly this kind of dressing room tension, and suddenly it doesn't feel like three unrelated moments anymore. Both things can be true here, by the way. Cucurella can genuinely be a useful, experienced left-back who solves a real problem for Mourinho. And this can also be a deal where the actual risk has nothing to do with muscle strains or tackle stats. The real risk is what happens the next time things stop going his way, at a club with way less patience than Chelsea ever had, under a manager whose biggest career wound came from this exact situation playing out before. So, back to where we started. Did Madrid solve a problem or adopt one? Probably both, if I'm honest. They almost certainly upgraded the position in the short term, but they also took on a guy who's shown, more than once, that he doesn't go quiet when he's unhappy, on a long contract, inside the one club in Europe with basically zero patience for that. The transfer fee tells you what Madrid paid. It doesn't tell you what happens the day the first real crisis hits, because that's when every transfer actually shows its true cost. And if history's anything to go by, I don't think Cucurella's story at Real Madrid is finished being written. So, what do you think?